Cool. So, hi guys. So we're going to do reading strategies. So hopefully this will tie some of the stuff together. So I'll tell you a bit about my reading strategies I used to do at university. I used to always do my readings before my lecture, and then I'll go to my lecture and they'll have all their PowerPoints, and I'd sort of be a little bit lost and just take a few notes. And then I'd get my assignment and I'd come back and do all my readings again because I didn't really understand them first time around. Yeah. So what we want to do is avoid that. Does anyone do this system where you try and do all your readings before class and you just read it start to end?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we're going to come up with an alternative system. So we'll look at reading a bit smart and hopefully saving you some time. So our goals out of this is how to get the right information, how to remember the information, how to reduce your reading time down, and how to overcome procrastination, because sometimes when you've got huge amounts of reading, your biggest enemy is procrastination, because you don't want to start. So we'll do some strategies for getting rid of procrastination as well. Yeah, so that's what we're hoping to get out of this workshop. And and just before we start, just so you all know, we've all got different learning styles and different strategies will work for different people. So feel free to take down the strategy that you think will most work for you. You don't want to be using all of them, but we'll give you a selection and a variety, and you'll know yourself what works for you. So if you're someone that actually likes to read your textbook from start to finish before a lecture and that works for you, keep on doing it. But if it's not working, then we'll look at some different strategies. Cool. So, okay. So number one is getting the right information. They throw so much information at you in these courses. You've got your textbooks, you've got your PowerPoint slides, you've got your additional readings, okay? And it's hard to know where to start. You want to cover them all so you're not missing anything, but then you don't know if you're missing anything. So my tip is always read with an outcome in mind. Don't go anywhere near those readings until you know what you're being assessed on. Okay, so it's really good to take time to know your assessments. So every reading will relate to an assessment, right? So you'll have different assessments. They might be essays. Excuse my writing. You might have online tests. You might have exams. You might have reports. So before you go rushing in and doing your readings, have a look at the learning outcome for those readings and see what you're actually going to be tested on for those readings. Because depending on what you're tested on will affect your approach to those readings. Okay? Because, for example, if you're going to have an essay to test you on that reading, you're going to have a very different note-taking approach. If it's an essay, you're going to look at that learning outcome. You'll probably want to have a look at your readings. You'll want to have a look at your extra readings, and you'll want to have a look at your slides. Okay? And then you're probably looking at quite a general note-taking method like this, where you've got a concept and a description and a summary, because you want to have all your concepts there ready for when you write the essay. And this is really, really good because when you've got all those different sources with different information on the same concept, you can keep this piece of paper for that concept. You guys in legal might have you might have a lot of paper with different concepts on it, is the only problem. But if you look ahead to see what your assessment is, sometimes you can narrow that down if you pick out what you're going to do your assessment on. I think, do you guys have a lot of tests or? You have quizzes. Okay, so you'll be the second type of information. So that's how to do that. Now, if you're studying for exams or quizzes, your reading's going to look a bit different because they're going to pick out little details. So you need to read for details. So my advice is know if you're doing a test instead of doing that one reading through and then coming back and go, oh, we have a test, and then you go back to all your readings and do it again, like it's doubling up, it's wasting time. My advice is, before you go to the lecture, know the outcome, do the readings with the notes before you even go to the lecture. Then when you go to the lecture, you've already got a real good idea of the content, you understand what details you're listening for more, otherwise you're in the lecture and you're sort of a bit, you've got no objective, you don't know where it's going, you don't know what you're supposed to be actually taking notes on. So, yeah, so for tests, it's quite a good idea to do your readings beforehand. These flashcards are a great idea because you have to have all your little details for your tests, don't you? And also the other thing that's really good can be these outline notes as well, rather than the big general overview methods, which are very good for essays or report writing. Okay, so those are my tips on getting the right information, narrowing down your readings by knowing what your outcome is right at the start, because quite often we're just so aimless, we're reading everything and we don't need everything. Lectures are a real good place to just whittle your lecturer down a bit and see what the test is actually going to be on and what they're going to cover. I always am trying to clarify what they're covering so I can narrow down what I'm actually studying. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, so yeah, the next step is remembering the information. So that's what I was just talking about. So rather than do that read through where you just don't take anything in, my advice is to write from the start, actively read, know the information you want and go into that textbook with purpose, knowing what information you need. Most of the textbooks are set out real nice with titles and subtitles, so really easy to go in and do what Sandra was talking about with all your making good notes and having it all there ready.
Sorry, Cheryl, if you don't mind, the law books, at the university level, sometimes they are not they're not as easy to read like this one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it's finance. So, and it's really good example, Cheryl. Thanks. So you don't have. Oh, that's right. I'll talk to you about a good strategy for other law books. It's just letters after letters and paragraphs after paragraphs.
Yeah. Legislation. Yeah. This could be a real good one for law because you can write your relevant legislation down the side and then your notes out here. So when you have to actually remember your legislation, then you've got it here.
It's the best.
Okay. Okay. So remembering the information. Okay. So I know it sounds obvious, but quite often there's unknown words in there. A real good strategy for those, because quite often it can change the whole meaning if you're not sure what something means, is to have sticky notes. When you come across an unknown word that you don't know, because you're getting introduced to a lot of new vocab and jargon sometimes, just write it down on a sticky note and then get your thesaurus, your dictionary, write a definition, whatever makes sense to you, put that thing on your fridge. Or if you're more in front of something else, put it there. I'm always in the fridge, so when I go to the fridge, I'm like, I'm normally like, pull one off every time I'm in the fridge and I have to have a look at it before I'm allowed in the fridge and put it back. And because I'm always in the fridge checking what's in there, it's actually a great way to learn all that new vocab and new jargon. And we'll also show you how to do Quizlet next week, where you can also set up unknown words so that you can quiz yourself on them in a fun way. But that's one way, because when you come across those unknown words, it actually makes the whole paragraph you're reading not make sense, and sometimes we waste time rereading and rereading and it still doesn't make sense. Okay, just summarising your key points. So that's just going back over there. And reconstructing the information. So one of the reasons what Sandra's talking about is so useful is because our brain remembers things when we reconstruct it and put it in our own way. So the best way to remember information is actually to teach someone else, and the reason that's so effective is because we're taking this information and then we're reconstructing it and putting it in another form, and as soon as you put it in another form, it goes into that long-term memory and it makes it easier to recall. So reading sounds a lot like note-taking, but it's because you have to do something with your readings to make it real stick in here. Okay, so here's the reduced reading time. Okay, so reading backwards. I don't mean literally read backwards. Sometimes what's really good is at the end of every chapter. Not sure about law. Sandra will jump in if she wants to add anything for law. Yeah. So at the end of every chapter, there's normally a summary. It's a really good place. It's actually a really good place to start, because sometimes when you're taking a few papers, you might have a bit of prior knowledge of the subject. You've already covered a lot of stuff, and you don't want to re-cover the same stuff. Pay attention to your formatting, so things in bold are normally main points. We had a commercial law book with all the titles in bold that were really important points. Diagrams and pictures normally have important concepts. If you find do you guys all get your PowerPoint slideshows in a nice book for you, or you don't get your PowerPoints at all? Are they on Moodle?
Moodle.
Yeah, you get them on Moodle. And you've got a workbook with yours on. So where you find something on your PowerPoints on Moodle and in your textbook, you're probably going to be tested on it, because they tend to put on those PowerPoints, they're a little mini guide for you of what you have to know at the end of it. So if you're not sure what diagrams and what things actually cover in your textbook, I find it kind of useful to have the PowerPoints open while I'm going through my textbook, because it allows me to see what the lecturer thinks is important, because they'll normally always have in those slideshows what they're going to test or assess on. So that helps me sometimes wade through what's important in here, what's not important. Yeah. And then scan and skim. Does everyone know how to scan and skim? Okay. So we've got scanning. So when we're scanning a document, we're looking for particular information and keywords. So if we're doing active reading, so instead of just reading through this, we might go to here and we might do the flashcard note-taking thing, and we'll turn it into a question, and instead of writing risk management, we'll put what is risk management. And then that allows us to just scan in here for particular information to answer our question, what is risk management, and write it nicely so you've got that ready for when you get tested on it. Okay, so scanning for particular information, pulling out important information, and it helps wade through the unnecessary information. Because in these textbooks, a lot of this is unnecessary. Do you guys know about your main points being in the first sentence of every paragraph? Okay, so when you're learning to write really well, you learn to write a topic sentence, and that's your theme for the whole paragraph. And then everything else in the paragraph is details to support that point. So all textbooks are written in that format. So what can save you a lot of time is just to read the first sentence of every paragraph And if you want to know more about that particular concept, because you know you're getting tested on it, then you can go into the details. But you'll actually get main point, main point, main point, just reading the first sentence of every paragraph. So that can actually, that concept actually saved me a lot of time in reading, because I'd get so lost in all the details I wouldn't retain anything, whereas if I'm just reading main point, main point, main point, my brain's very logical, so that helped me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you apply the same concepts to like when you're writing an essay?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you should have main point and then all the detail around it, and main point detail.
I've covered it in essay writing.
So that's real good academic writing. So it's good for your writing and to know how to read as well. Okay, so skimming. Skimming's another reason that if you know your outcome, like what you're reading for to start with, rather than you're just reading manually, then you can actually skim through your headings, titles and illustrations to find what you need. Because it's actually, these textbooks are made with a lot of titles, a lot of diagrams, a lot of case studies, a lot of white space, and it's very purposeful because our brain registers stuff with a lot of white space easier than it registers big hunks of writing like this. Yeah. So when you know your outcome, you can use these strategies to save you time and find the information you need. They're really good for when you're researching as well, just to save time when you're researching, because normally when you're researching you know exactly what you're looking for, so you can skim through and find these things. Cool. Okay, so here's just a couple of reading strategies just to get you through the procrastination thing. So location's actually really important for reading books like these. They're not like leisure reading, you know, like when you get a real good novel and you just sit in a nice corner on your sofa and open it up and it's enjoyable. Like if we apply the same strategy to this, we'll fall asleep. Like I can read in bed when I'm reading a good novel, but if I take one of these to bed, I'm asleep within the first page. So location's actually really important because you have to be switched on while you're reading. So don't fall for the old read on the real cosy couch in the corner, because you'll probably find you lose concentration and focus. So your brain's actually designed to switch on in certain places. So if you have a set study area, researchers found you're actually more likely to be switched on and more efficient in that study time because your brain gets used to working in that area. So same with your little cosy couch, your brain gets used to switching off and going into leisure time in that area. So if you wonder why you fall asleep if you're reading in bed, that's why, because your brain's programmed to sleep there or do. Yeah. Okay. So think about your location before you even open this baby. Another real good thing is if you really just can't stand reading, set a timer. So go for 20-minute chunks and then have a break. You'll be amazed what you can do when you just set a timer, because you know there's an end to it. If it feels like there's no end and you're waiting through it for hours, you're just never going to get there. So the timer technique really works. There's a name for it. It's called the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro. I'll talk more about that next week. But it's a strategy that actually really works, and you'll retain a lot more because your brain's only designed to focus for 20-minute periods at a time anyway. So that's another one. And the final one, reward yourself. So if you're doing something you hate, put a little chocolate bar in every few pages so that you actually want to get to the end of your reading, you know. Come up with novel ways of rewarding yourself. At the end of that 20 minutes, have a bit of time to, you know, I don't know what you'll do in that time. Be like me, go to the fridge and see what's in there. I feel like my rewards will revolve around food. So come up with novel ways of rewarding yourself, because We always procrastinate when it's a task we really hate doing, and the biggest way to overcome that is to have something good at the end, because that reward of getting your degree is too long term for us to care about it, so we need something shorter term to motivate us. Yeah. Cool. So, okay, so just summing it up, I think we're right on time. So summing it up, so make sure you know your outcome before you start your reading, so that you can really focus on that. Then do something with your readings to make your recall easy. Don't just read it for the sake of reading it, because you're going to waste time. Get wise at finding your way around a textbook and your other books, and your skimming and scanning, so you're not reading through huge chunks of information when you're trying to research. And apply some of those techniques to get over all that time you waste just thinking about reading and not actually doing any reading. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So that's, has anyone got any further questions that they still would like answered that we didn't quite cover in this workshop? Like for either of us? If you've got any more legal questions you want to ask Sandra?
Yes, please.